Deep down, we all know we should be driving the smallest, most efficient vehicles possible. And yet, our hearts often overcome our heads. For proof, look no further than the popularity of massive, off-road capable SUVs.
With hands-on test drives and reviews of exciting Chinese market vehicles, Wheelsboy is the #1 source for China auto insights. Be sure to check us out on Instagram and Facebook. But what if you could have a big, burly SUV that delivered both on-road efficiency and off-road prowess, not to mention a luxurious interior? Too good to be true?
Maybe not. This is the Tank 500 High 4T, a massive SUV that combines locking differentials with a plug-in hybrid electric powertrain, providing up to 110 kilometers of pure EV range on the WLTC cycle. Time to find out if this is the Goldilocks SUV we've all been waiting for.
The Tank 500 is the current flagship model for the Tank brand, with this PHEV version costing $52,000 US. It's certainly flagship sized, measuring almost 5.1 meters in length and 1.9 meters tall.
It looks, let's be honest, like a Toyota Land Cruiser, at least here on the front end. But if you can get past that, you'll see that it cuts a rather imposing figure, even at a standstill. It's not just all talk, too. This thing has a body-on-frame construction with low-range four-wheel drive, central and rear locking diffs, trail cruise control, and trail turn, not to mention 11 different driving modes. All that off-road technology is somewhat undercut by the fact that our car comes with these Continental all-season tires, which, as far as I can tell, are more about reducing noise than they are about off-road ability. Then again, I have a feeling you'd have a hard time reaching that 110 kilometer range if you swapped them for some all-terrain tires. This is a pre-production vehicle, which hopefully explains what's going on when it comes to the badges here on the rear. Namely, where is the giant tank badge that should be right here? Other tank models have tank badges all over the rear. I think they missed a perfect opportunity to put a giant T-A-N-K logo right there. Yes, the Chinese brand name is right here, Tanke, but it's small and hidden by the tire. Your brand is called Tank. Why start being subtle now?
Pull open the barn-style rear door and you will be able to see the massive lump that indicates where Tank put this PHEV's 37.1 kilowatt-hour battery pack. As a result, the load floor is high, very high.
SUVs may come from humble origins, but the days of buyers tolerating barren interiors are long gone. I think Tank knows that. That's why they've given this thing a whole bunch of screens and other features. The center screen, for example, is 14.6 inches. I'd be willing to bet that's the largest screen you're going to find in a car that also has locking differentials.
You also get a 12.3-inch digital instrument cluster, a 12-speaker Infinity sound system, heads-up display, and wireless charging pad.
Material quality in here, well, it's decent. This is very fake wood, but these are real leather seats. Overall, I would say it's probably one of the weaker areas on this car. It definitely doesn't rival anything from the German manufacturers, but then again, this also doesn't cost nearly as much as they do. Both rows of the Tank 500 have heated and cooled seats as standard, and the driver's seat also is massaging as standard. However, the way that you operate these seats is quite strange. The easiest way to turn them on without using the screen is these physical buttons between the seats, but once you click them, it automatically goes to the highest possible setting. And it's the highest possible of 9 different settings. Yes, both heating and cooling have 9 different levels instead of the standard 3 or maybe 4. I appreciate having options, but this just feels like overkill. That's not the only strange design choice up here either. There are 2 USB ports, but they're only accessible from the driver's side, not from the passenger side. The solution, as provided by Tank, is this pass-through next to the wireless charging pad where you can kind of snake a charging cable. But still, that doesn't change the fact that it would be really difficult to connect them once you're on the move. USB access isn't an issue for rear passengers, and neither is space. Having that battery pack in the rear does result in a very high cargo floor with less space, but it also means that this place up here doesn't have as high of a floor as many other EVs. As a result, space is copious. These seats also have adjustable backs and can be laid flat. Fold down this center armrest and you will find a cup holder, a small storage area, and a little LCD screen where you can control the functions for the rear. That includes your seat functions, heating and cooling again, and yes, in case you were wondering, there are 9 levels of adjustment for both once again. You also can control your air conditioning, as well as your media, and that huge sunroof above, which, by the way, does open almost all the way. Finally, you have some redundant physical controls just in case you've got somebody sitting here in the middle seat and you can't access that screen. You can still adjust your seating functions, your heating and cooling, as well as your air conditioning.
As much as we like to pretend that we're going to take our highly capable and often expensive SUVs off-road, most of them are going to be spending their time on-road. So that's where we'll be taking our Tank 500 test car.
We've talked about pure electric range and battery, but now it's time to talk about power. Between the 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder and the electric motor, this thing makes a total of 300 kilowatts and 750 newton meters of torque. All that power is fed through a 9-speed automatic transmission and propels this to 100 kilometers per hour in just 6.9 seconds.
That doesn't sound terribly fast till you consider the fact that the tank weighs 2,810 kilograms, or over 6,000 pounds. This thing might look like a Land Cruiser, but it's more of a Land Crusher.
Keeping all that weight and power in check is a double wishbone front suspension and a multi-link rear. They can't hide the sheer mass of the Tank 500, but they can keep it from being too much of a wallowing beast. When you stab the throttle, the front will rise gracefully into the air, but the body is pretty well controlled unless you really huck it into a corner. It's also fairly isolated from bumps like potholes or speed bumps, even though it does transmit some vibration through the steering wheel and the seat. The steering is numb and overboosted, but that's nothing new for vehicles in this segment. The 9-speed automatic, smooth. Doesn't really make itself known unless you really hit the throttle or you start using the paddles on the back of the steering wheel.
The Tank 500 can fast charge at up to 50 kilowatts, and Tank claims it can go from 30 to 80% in as little as 25 minutes. We charged it several times during the week we drove it and found that number to be fairly realistic.
At some point I realized that I was keeping this thing in EV mode as much as possible. Partially because I'm cheap and I don't want to pay for gas, but also because pure electric mode in the Tank 500 is genuinely relaxing. This thing has active noise cancellation and double pane glass, so wind and tire noise is kept to a minimum. I may be taking up an entire lane of traffic and intimidating everybody else on the road, but I'm doing it serenely.
And that, in a nutshell, is the charm of the Tank 500, to waft along gazing down on your peers, knowing that you are as eco-friendly as a massive, overweight SUV with locking diffs and a 14.6-inch center screen is probably going to get.
So, if a PHEV meets your lifestyle needs and a giant SUV meets your lifestyle goals, the Tank 500 makes for a fine choice. All right, thanks for watching, and be sure to check us out on all of our social media and our website. Links in the description below. And as always, like, subscribe, and hit the bell.